this new, they pitched it as a new type of piston. It was a new piston-less engine that can rev to 25,000 RPM.
Huh.
And yeah, that's where I was like, explain that.
So
and then,
rotary.
Well, yeah. So then it said,
Basically.
and unlike a rotary, it has no apex seals. And so I was like, oh, now I'm thoroughly confused.
Yeah.
So yeah, click this top link here. We'll share some photos in the actual episode too. So this is a new, I believe it's a prototype at this point. There's no, like, I don't know that there's a working model of it. I think it's kind of like a theory right now.
Oh, it is a rotary engine with no seals.
Right. So the rotor is these two, the blue discs and the red discs there. The blue is the intake half of the engine. The red is the exhaust and the ignition section of the engine. So how it works, the only thing, this confused me too. The reason it doesn't need apex seals, the only thing that's making contact in this entire engine are the gears on the front of it.
What?
So let me show you the video here. They have we don't need that audio. So this is the thing.
It's tiny.
Yeah. It's super small. They have the weights of it, but that pod with the two, I don't know how you describe that, 4 rotors maybe, or the 4 discs in it.
Yeah.
That is I think they said 150 horsepower, and it weighs, I mean, it was something tiny. It was the very, very light. It is,
and it's a single injector.
Yep.
So I see. So the combustion chamber is just that little opening on one, and then the little thing that goes in it on the other. So that's what creates the compression, and then
so this is where they're showing it. So like the injection cycle, like the induction cycle rather, it's these concentric discs that rotate around,
and then it compresses, and then it expands.
So that's where it's compressing. That's the intake cycle. It's got that there. So then if we go to the other side, here we go, the red one. I just want to know who's coming up with this stuff. So then that ports over to the other side of the engine. And then that's where ignition takes place, propels the thing around.
There.
And then because this is all sealed, it's forcing the gases out.
Yep.
I think that's where it happens. Or maybe it's right behind it. I can't remember. Oh, it's the second time around it does that. Yeah, I don't know. Super crazy. So yeah, so this is the theory of this engine. Okay.
Well, so it could run like really high RPMs because it's not something that has to move. You wouldn't be bending rods.
Right.
You would just be spinning it. What you probably have is like runaway on something like that, right? Where it just keeps going faster and faster and faster.
Right. Well, so as they're talking about it more and more too. So it's here we go. There's a supercharged air intake running at high pressure to charge everything into this engine. High pressure talking, not 15 PSI like a regular one, 200 to 300 PSI supercharger. Yeah. Pressurizing this thing.
What?
So in addition, it's like crazy fuel efficient. So it has a skip fire function. So when it's at cruising speed, because this thing, I would imagine cruising speed on this, like a low RPM is what? If it's a 25,000 RPM engine, is like 12,000 RPM.
Right.
It's like low.
That's insane.
So it'll do a skip feature where every 5, 10, or 50 rotations, that's when it'll fire, but the others are just idling. So it's that efficient and moving that fast that it can skip that many to idle itself down.
I guess if it's got the cruising momentum.
This is how crazy. 35-pound engine, 160 horsepower. And it is modular like a rotary engine. So you can just slap on more. So
you can just stack them.
So there's a dual one that's 70 pounds, that's 320, 340 pounds of torque, and a 70-pound engine.
And how big are they? And my question is, how many can we got a 10 stack, 6,000 horsepower.
You're like, you know how like Teslas have a motor on each wheel?
Yeah. You just keep stacking. It's like the transmission tunnel, but it's all of them.
Just running down the center of the thing.
Perfect weight distribution.
There we go. Right? There we go. You can just have a transaxle slapped on the front and on the back and just going out to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this thing was crazy. I never thought of anything like this before. It also looks
like 6 bolts to remove, like to take it apart.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
just
the only,
like a sandwich. It just kind of comes, and look, you got your ARP head studs right here.
Yep. And yeah, that's the only lubricated piece of the engine is that the synchronizing gears all on the front side of it.
So what about the cylinder? How are those? They're in contact with each other. It seems like
they're not. There's a crazy tolerance. They're super close, but they're not in contact with each other
enough to have compression.
Right.
It looks like because that's the only, at least from what I saw from the video, that's the only like
at least that's
sealed chamber.
Yeah. From when I watched the video, that's what it was explaining, and I'm just
you have to have high boost in there too, right? Because it's moving away from the force of the explosion, not towards it to compression and then pushing it away.
It's
like a normal engine.
Right when it gets there and creates, I'm assuming right there is when it ports. I should talk into the mic. Right when it gets to that point is probably when it runs, all the air that it just intook from the other side over. I don't know how that works though. It's crazy though.
Some kind of port.
Like,
That's
I don't even
insane.
know. Like, imagine the difference of like engine tuning and everything like that when it gets to this point. If
What would
this
it
is
even
if
be?
this is a future for it. So anyway, so that was
Stick
one.
more boost into it somehow. Well, how many
Could you
pounds
imagine?
did you say?
Like 300 to 300 psi. Like, what are our kids? Like, are our kids gonna come to us and be like, "Yeah, I put a new pulley on, so now I'm getting like, I don't know, 415 psi," and we're like, "Dude,
huh?
What?" Like, I freaked out when I saw
you have
30
an old
before.
Gretty gauge or whatever, and it's just like it just keeps spinning up.
They're like watching it. They're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I can't imagine what this sounds like. They don't have a real working model.
Oh, okay. I started looking for that too because I wanted to hear that because I have no clue.
That's insane.
Because essentially you're talking about a single cylinder engine.
Right.
Like that's kind of all it is.
Yeah.
So super, I thought there was guesstimates on efficiency,
so
but I guess not.
They must counterweight those spinning discs because one of them has a hole in it and one of them has a nub on it.
Yeah. It's got to be balanced.
Just get counterweighted or something.
Yeah, otherwise the thing would freak out.
25,000 RPMs counterbalance. One of those. It's not going to be like throwing a cylinder through your hood anymore. It's going to be throwing a counterbalancer to like Mars.
Could you imagine?